Very pleasant morning to all our listeners and viewers, wherever you are around the globe. You're logged on to WinFM 98.9. It's Wednesday, the 25th of February. Is this Friday? Yes. That's the way my head is at. It's Friday, the 25th day of February. We're still observing Black History Month. And we want to welcome you one and all to another episode of Voices. My name is Socrates, host of today's program. And we will get into the meat of things today just after a kind word from our sponsors.
Buying your medication is easy with City Drugstore's curbside pickup. WhatsApp our certified pharmacist at 662-8769 with your requests. For prescriptions, take a clear photograph and send for review. We will engage you in dialogue and then provide a quotation and link for payment. You can then pay via TDC's online payment portal. And once the transaction is complete, you'll be notified that your pickup is ready. Yes, it's that easy. Send your WhatsApp message to 662-8769 to order your medications today with City Drugstore's curbside pickup service.
Decided what to eat yet, hon?
Yep, almost.
If only this was easy like when we switched to Flow.
Best decision ever. Combining our mobile with Flow Internet
Saving hundreds each month on our mobile.
and getting double data to share for up to 4 lines. My ideas are the best.
Any idea when you'll make this decision?
Yeah, soon. Switch to Flow Postpaid and sign up for internet for big mobile savings and double data as low as $80 per line. Visit discoverflow.co for details. Conditions apply.
Once again, saying good morning to one and all, especially our fan base around the globe that's normally logged on to the Voices program. We have up in New York, we've got Rosemary, Manifa, we've got New York Joe, we got Avril, of course. We got in Georgia, we got Jennifer, and you normally say she's in Atlanta. It's not so hot there at the moment. We want to say good morning to Miss Pamela Wall here in St. Kitts, to Miss Marlene Phillip, and to Sheila over there at the Department of Culture. And all the folks who are doing their best to make sure that the whole engine keeps moving forward, you know. So, yes, today I think we would have had a discussion scheduled with someone from the... Okay, is that still on via Zoom? She's on already. Beautiful. So I want to say good morning to her and welcome to the program. If you want to start, we're discussing today the many heritage sites in St. Kitts with the folks at the St. Christopher Heritage Trust. And so welcome to the program. Let's hear what you have to say. Good morning,
Hi,
there.
good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the program. Welcome.
Thank you.
For our listeners, this is via Zoom, so the audio may not be as perfect, but of course, we're going to maximize the use of the technology. So welcome once again to the program.
Thank you.
Okay, the mic is yours. I'm going to have you introduce yourself. Nobody can introduce yourself better than you can, so please introduce
Okay,
yourself.
good morning. My name is Willis Percival Godet, and I'm the Executive Director of the St. Christopher National Trust. And the National Trust is really the entity in St. Kitts that is responsible for the protection, preservation, promotion, and conservation of our heritage, whether it is built, on land, on sea, under the water, up on the mountain, tangible or intangible. And we are happy today to be invited to be part of this Voices program. And I'm told that I'm supposed to be highlighting some of the unknown sites, heritage sites in St. Kitts,
Beautiful.
and those that persons are not very familiar with. And so it's my pleasure to be here and to do that. I've missed being on WinFM. You know, we used to have a program there. I think it used to be every other week where we used to share information, and that kind of got put by side. So I'm hoping that this could be a prompt for us to come
Get
back
it?
to the
Yes.
airwaves and begin to share with other persons about the trust.
That would be great.
Yes.
That would be great. So you're going to share about, you're going to speak to us about the various heritage sites. You says known and unknown.
Yes. So sometime in the 90s, the late 90s, a study was done with the sanction of the government to review all the heritage sites in St. Kitts. And it was a really in-depth study. I'm turning because I'm going to be looking at the information in a book.
Yes.
So the study was done through funding from the Organization of American States, the OAS, and the report was done by a George Tyson and a Maria Eugenia Bacci. And they did an extensive study, like I said, of heritage sites in St. Kitts.
Yep.
And when they did the study, they found that there were several hundred potential sites that could have been considered heritage sites
Several
in
hundred.
St. Kitts. Several hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, I think they concluded that there were 254 sites in St.
254.
Kitts. Yes.
Wow.
So, but there was a study done before that. And so when they came back, there were some sites that were originally listed that were already no longer there. Those I want to mention, like they were destroyed for some reason. So like the Bastille Courthouse, that was destroyed.
By fire?
There was a Bethel Moravian Church that was destroyed. There's a Clay Hill Estate Yard. There was ruins in Connery, the Cunningham Hospital. Some of them were destroyed for various reasons. Some of them we would know of. There's Fort Londonderry. There's a French Fort site, the Gibbons Pasture Fort, the Golden Rock Estate Yard, the Newstead Building, Penny. I don't know what that one is. The pirate execution site, and it's strange enough that I would have probably not known where that was until last week. I was doing some research and I found the story behind this pirate execution. And it's a story that we're going to publish soon. Mm-hmm. Not sure if it's very relevant, but it is something that happened.
It is relevant. Are we talking about down by the Shell Bulk?
30-something persons were executed. And the site where they were buried or execution was done is now the site of the
Shell Bulk?
Yes.
That was the last mass execution of pirates.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And some of the sites you mentioned, you didn't really give location. Maybe we have time to go into that because people went, okay, these sites, where are they?
They didn't. The information that is in front of me does not
speak to locations.
Really give me the location.
Okay.
Right. Sorry about that. So the 254 sites that they finally agreed on is evenly divided between the public and the private sectors. A total of 111 of those sites are privately owned, and the government held 111 sites.
Okay.
And 20 of the sites have mixed ownership, and there was 12 sites that ownership could not have been determined. Now, of the 111 sites that government owned, 53 of them were belonging to the SSMC. Most of them, all of them were farmer sugar plantations. But in recent years, we know that SSMC would have sold them or leased them, or, they don't really belong to us anymore.
Okay.
The National Trust have been vested, I think, 3 of those estates. The Mansion Estate, the Spooners Cotton Ginnery Estate Yard, and the Belmont Estate Yard. So those are the 3 directly that has been vested under the trust and is now very well
Can I ask
protected.
this question as in your flow, not to interrupt your flow? You mentioned some sites were sold by the NSA, well, by the government,
SSMs, yeah.
SSMD. Can you identify those sites?
No.
You can't identify them. Okay.
Yes, but no, not now.
Okay.
I would have to pull other documents for that,
All right.
right? So I have a specific document in front of me that I'm sharing from. So the sites that have been sold, honestly, I'm not sure if we even know of all of them, because those were all, some of them were also done through the privatization unit of the government. And so we really, unless we go and we collect that data to update what we have here, I really cannot say for sure which sites were sold. But
Okay.
I'm certain a lot of people know of them. So, like I indicated, the 254 sites were identified, and some of them are fairly popular, some of them are not very popular. So, of the non-popular ones, I'm going to give you about 20 non-popular ones. Manchester House, that would have been in Sandy Point.
Sandy Point, yes.
Brown's Windmill in the parish of St. John. The Cano Bay Homestead. Cano Bay Homestead would have been in Bastia area. The Chalk Farm Estate Yard would have been somewhere in the St. Thomas's parish. And I'm giving you the parish, not the exact location.
Okay.
Clifton Windmill in St. John's. The Cockershell Bluff in Bastia or St. George's. The Confipps Estate Yard in St. Thomas's
Parish.
The Estate Yard in Trinity, Five Peaks Battlefield in St. Mary's, Fleming Estate Yard in St. George's, the Gigans Windmill in St. John's, the Granier Windmill in St. Anne's, the Harry Phipps Estate Yard in St. Thomas's, the Hope Estate Yard in St. John's, Johnson's Estate Yard in Trinity, the Johnstones Estate Yard in St. Paul's, the Lays Estate Yard in St. Paul's, Little Estridge Estate Yard in St. John's, the Little Sir Gillies Windmill in St. Anne, Muddy Point in St. Peter's, the Mutual Improvement Society Hall in St. George, Pinnell Windmill in St. Anne's, Pretty's Moon Windmill in St. Peter's, Profit Estate Yard in St. John's, Stone Building in St. Paul's, Sugarloaf Pass in St. George's, the Glen, that's still up there. We call, everybody know the Glen area
St. Peter's,
but right. The Walk Windmill in St. Thomas's, Trans Estate Yard in St. Paul's, Tully Bodie Estate Yard in St. Paul's, and the William Estate Yard in St. Thomas's. Those are some of the unknown areas that are considered, heritage. And it's an area or a thing. Now, just this morning, I was discussing with somebody that one of the things that I found when I came here, and a lot of us may not know, is that slaves, the enslaved Africans, had no last name. When we look at the census that was done in 1819, And we had that book on display for a couple of weeks in 2019, which would have been the 200-year anniversary of that census. The the slaves were listed in the book with no last name. So it was very difficult for anybody to trace ancestors. But most of the enslaved persons got their last name from the S part of.
Yeah.
So that is something that if persons are interested in tracing their ancestors, they could look at where the estates, the last name that they probably have now, and some of us, our last names, we can't even trace it back. But probably the mixing of other cultures, or persons who come into
Intermarried,
the
different
country.
cultures, yes.
Right, from different countries would have brought in the different last names, but the popular last names really came from the estates. And we have a very, 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 very big map here at the museum, and when you look at it, it will tell you, it actually defines St. Kitts in the 1600s, the 1700s. It's demarked by estates, and there were so many of them here, so many of them. And
Yes.
so and it also listed the amount of enslaved persons on each estate.
Plantations, yes. I have a document that speaks to the plantations in Sandy Point area. There were like 7 sugar plantations, and they listed how many were on the plantation at a specific time. But there's a document over at the archive in government quarters where you find a listing of the enslaved on the various plantations and the names given. So when you said that time, you didn't know that they didn't have last names.
That would be, I think, a copy of the register, maybe.
Okay. I have a copy of that, and so I know that's part of it.
So yeah, it's digitized, so you could see the pages, the names.
Yes.
But the actual book it's protected.
Okay. Of the unknown sites that you mentioned, are there any plans to put signage at these sites with an indication as to why they were designated as heritage sites?
We have plans to put on some of the sites, but then we can put signs on sites that are
Private
property without their permission.
The consent. But the intent is to engage them in a conversation with a view to identifying and highlighting these sites for the value that they have.
Well, the thing about it, Socrates, is that we had started a process in 2018 to develop a national register of heritage sites. And this register would have allowed us and persons out there, because they're probably sites that we don't know the story about. Now, the register would have allowed both any individual and the National Trust to come and apply to place a site and or a thing on this register. Now, it would have documented the entire history. So you would have captured, okay, so we pick a site or a house. You would have had to document when the house was built, what it was constructed of, its color, its origin, who probably lived there, what make it a historical site, what used to take place there. So it probably could be a great-great-grandmother's house, Socrates, and you say, every, Easter, everybody used to come here so she could teach them how to make conky, and and so you want to preserve that tradition. And so we could now go and say, well, this house, based on the application, meets the criteria, it's now a heritage site, and we log the story there, and it's branded. And now it becomes a legally protected site. And with that happening, with all the benefits that comes with it, of course, but it allows us to share the history of it, because somebody thinks that it's something that should be protected. We really, really want persons to begin to appreciate our history, what we benefited from the harshness of the colonial rule on our ancestors, and to appreciate, what they went through to leave these legacies behind for us.
Perfect. We're going to
And
pause on this note to get a word in from our sponsors and come back and give the microphone straight back to you because you have so much to share with us. So I want to thank you for the first segment. Take a word from our sponsors, and we will be right back.
Buster, pour it up, need the thirst quencher in my cup. If you have one, hold it up and say, must the the colors in my life. Refreshing and nice, and I drink that what we like. But stand you full of vibes, living full color. I know black and white, we do what we like. We live to enjoy life. Buster, pour it up, different flavor. Load it up. If you have one, hold it up and say, must the colors in my life. Decided what to eat yet, hun?
Yep, almost.
If only this was easy like when we switched to Flow.
Best decision ever. Combining our mobile with Flow Internet
Saving hundreds each month on our mobile.
and getting double data to share for up to 4 lines. My ideas are the best.
Any idea when you'll make this decision?
Yeah, soon. Switch to Flow Postpaid and sign up for internet for big mobile savings and double data as low as $80 per line. Visit discoverflow.co for details. Conditions apply.
Hello.
Good, Jean.
What's up, girl? Talk to me.
You know I'm working hard on being even more active, right? So we're going to the TDC Home and Building Depot to get a blender, weights, a yoga mat, and a bike for Clive too.
You serious? Something keeping there?
Yes, girl, all month long. Shop in store, get 20% in savings on health and wellness products like blenders, juicers, air fryers, waist trainers, and more.
Girl, Betty, you're joking.
I don't have time for jokes. Get yourself sorted because in February we're staying active with TDC HBD.
Yes, girl.
Girl. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
Once again, good morning and welcome back to the program. For those who are just joining us, we are speaking via Zoom to the Executive Director of the St. Kitts Heritage Trust, Ms. Willis, and I didn't get the last name, my apologies. We were discussing the various heritage sites on St. Kitts, known and unknown, and she was given a listing of those that not known, those that have purview over, some are in private ownership. And Ms. Executive Director, are you there? Hello there. Okay, we'll try to get her back online. There was a mention of some 254 potential heritage sites. 111 of these are in private ownership. And we're standing by to get reconnected to the guest of the day, the Executive Director of the St. Christopher Heritage Trust. One of the sites mentioned was the Manchester home in Sandy Point. And I want to ask about Fort Hamilton, which is also at the foot, that was located at the foot of Downing Street in Sandy Point. I think you can engage Mr. Calvin Ferrier in discussion on that one. We're still standing by to be rejoined by our guest. But in the meantime, let me know when she gets back on. Is she here? Okay, Madam Executive Director, are you there?
yes,
Yes, we thought we lost you for a minute or two. So welcome back to the program, and you may continue where you left off if you have that recall. I know you don't.
okay. So, as a matter of fact, I'm so excited that you mentioned that fort.
Fort
because
Hamilton?
just this morning I was saying, sorry?
Fort Hamilton.
Yes, I didn't know the name.
Fort Hamilton, yes.
And I've been say I said to one of my staff this morning, we offer these heritage hikes. And I was saying to one of my staff this morning that we need to do a hike along that area because of the so much history down into Downing Street.
Yes.
And when you cross, when you turn, just when you get to the foot, just in front of the building, there's a left turn, and you would have gone behind there, and there would have been a lot of there would have been buildings behind,
Ruins.
historical buildings.
That was
Right.
the foundation of the
Now
hospital.
lost. Right, all of that. So I was saying, we need to do a hike along that seashore and the history be shared to learn about the ponyard. A lot of people saying that, the ponyard was where the slaves were sold.
I spoke about that yesterday.
And, yeah.
I spoke
And
about that
so
yesterday. That's a fact.
the history in Sandy Point is something that needs to be developed and shared because besides, Sandy Point persons thinking that they're it, it comes with the territory of, being the first of there. So,
well, that was discussed yesterday also, and it was acknowledged by even Mrs. John and Powell. Well, yes, Sandy Pointers were, and I'm not going to get into that because your program, but the Fort Hamilton, the location.
If you start to get into it, I'll join you. Trust me.
All right. It can be used as a dive site. This was a recommendation by Mr. Calvin Ferrier, who lives on the location of what was the first Catholic church in Sandy Point. Where he lives, that was owned by the Portuguese, Lasados, and that was the site of the first Catholic church in Sandy Point. And right out there, you have the ruins of Fort Hamilton that can be developed as a dive site.
Right, but there are also wrecks in that area, and so, and I'm sure a lot of persons would want to know the history as to why we call it the hole. We grew up and you're going around the hole and you're going to sink in because there's quicksand around there. So we really need to share that history for the Sandy Pointers too, who don't know it, and for general information for the entire island, to learn the history about why Sandy Pointers think.
I can give you that, but it's your program, so I'm not gonna interject that thing. But it was an established fact that they at the time were the most educated people in St. Kitts. And I stressed yesterday there was a street replicated after Downing Street in Sandy Point in Bastia to attract Sandy Pointers to move to Bastia. If you look at the architecture and the layout of Downing Street in Sandy Point, look at St. Johnson Avenue, and it's the same thing, built to attract Sandy Pointers to come to Bastia.
Yes.
There you go.
Awesome. So we're going to work on that together, Socrates, and see if we could put that storytelling tour together for our people and be able to share that. So,
well, the Sandy Point.
You're a frequent visitor to the trust, and so whenever you step in again, I'll corner you to tape that story.
Yes. Okay, no problem. Right. But go ahead.
But I wanted to give a definition of what a heritage site is, because people think that it has to have it has to come with either the sugar, it comes as part of the sugar industry heritage, or some colonial office. But a heritage site can be anything that meets this criteria that I'm going to read.
Okay.
There are places of historical, cultural, and natural significance bequeathed from past generations of a nation to the living descendants. And they are distinctive physical landmarks that help people understand and define their national experience and national identity, right? And so they are also saying that for it to even be considered historical or heritage, it should be 50 years standing.
Okay.
Right. So we do have a lot of, I mean, we are a young nation, but we have a lot of things that are 50 years standing. and
May I recommend one?
stemming from the date. So we have things that are very old
May I recommend
and
one?
still. Sorry?
May I recommend a site that can be deemed a heritage site?
If you could recommend one?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
The home of late Premier Bradshaw, where he lived.
Oh, that has already been identified.
Well, excuse you
Um,
me.
So let me give you some history on that. As a matter of fact, there's a committee that's in place. It's been in place, as far as I know, for 3-4 years. And they have been working, not very fast, but working to establish that site as a museum. And I know that work has been done towards that. And that committee is actually chaired by our very old Governor General. And so we have some very key persons who sit on it. And I know
Okay.
work has started towards that. And so, you know, I asked about it the other day because it's been in a work that's been in progress for a while. But to make that site a museum, it's critical. It's very, very critical for our history. We have tried our best to salvage as much as possible the contents that would have been there, but we've lost so many.
Okay.
Um,
Here's a
and we
question.
also have situations where people discard the history, not knowing. And we had a situation at the Edgar Challenger house when they were fixing it up, and somebody came and said, you know, they have all these books and boxes on the ground, and we gone up there with, you know, boxes and boxes, say, well, if you guys don't want them, we'll take them, and we weren't allowed to go with them, and I'm certain they still stayed there and got wet and were destroyed. And so we have those challenges where people do not understand that even information can be protected because of its significance to our history. Newspapers, books, clothing, a pot, they have significance. And those are what people come to look at. And we had a team here last month from Italy who were doing some research, and they wanted to see our collection of archaeological artifacts.
Yes.
Archaeological artifacts are where people would have done archaeological work on sites, and they found artifacts, and they have been, you know, stored, and they wanted to go through them. And before we allowed them to go through them, we had to put army man to guard it, because people come to take it away. And you will go to France, and you go to Italy, and you go
find
to
them there.
Germany, and you go to and see them in their museums, and we have them here as if they mean nothing to us. And so these are things that even the National Trust does. We're not just about the museum and a gift shop and sitting here. We really pay a lot of attention to the protection of what we have here in terms of our heritage and our, you know, history. And
Permit me
there's so much.
to share a short story with you. Are you familiar with this story about the bell from the Middle Island Anglican Church?
I heard it.
Well, let me give
Not
you.
sure if I paid a lot of attention to
I know you're here just for an hour, but I'm going to share two things with you, and I know you'll appreciate them. I got a call from a friend of mine in St. Thomas, a white lady, and she asked me, are you guys missing a bell in St. Kitts? I said, I'm going to find out. So I called one father. He was the father for the pastor for the Middle Island Anglican Church. I forget his name at the moment. So I called him and asked him, and he says, no. 2 days after he called me, Socrates, the bell is missing. She was in a restaurant in St. Thomas, and these two guys were sitting next to her, speaking about how they got the bell from St. Kitts, and they were about to get it from St. Thomas now to someplace in the state, I think it was Louisiana. They didn't know who she was, didn't know she had any affiliation with St. Kitts, and they were talking freely. As a result of overhearing that conversation, she called me. I asked, I think it was what Father Wilfred Daniel spoke with, and he said no. And then afterwards, he realized the bell was gone. So because that information came forward, she was able to assist the police in St. Thomas in getting them to get the bell back to St. Kitts. One. So I was instrumental in getting that bell because somebody So people came to St. Kitts, saw the value of it. That bell came down because there was a hurricane or earthquake in 1979 about that brought down the bell tower. So the bell was stored in a shed and nobody was paying attention to it. So these people, for whoever they were, came and was able to take the bell off St. Kitts, got it as far as St. Thomas, and because they were speaking freely in a restaurant, they were overheard, the call was made to me, the bell was traced and brought back to St. Kitts. That's one. Right? We spoke about Mr. Bracho's home and the artifacts that have gone missing. I have the sword of Robert Bracho, and I secured it from someone with the intention of giving it to the museum or the relevant authorities at the right time. I paid money for that. I'm not going to say who, but they were selling his stuff. The person came to me and I paid money for that sword, which I have in my possession, with the intention to return it so I can give it to you tomorrow. So police, don't come to look for me. I am going to return the sword tomorrow. I bought it of this person with the sole intent of giving it to the museum. So you can have that for me tomorrow. Okay?
You know, and those stories are not unfamiliar to us, Socrates, because I was told, I remember, could have been maybe my last set of programs on WINNFM where I was crying out. And that would have been about 2 years ago, of a couple that just moved, gone.
I have a couple story for you too, you know.
Off of the site of Mansion Estate, and it didn't take long for us to miss it, because there are farmers who farm around the estate yard that is the vested into the trust, and so we allow them to use the site, and they would bring their vegetables to the copper that sat under the pipe. Or maybe they led the pipe to the copper, and so they would throw their vegetables in the copper and wash the dirt off before they take them in to sell or whatever. And so the morning they're gone, the copper was there the night and the morning. And I was on WINNFM for weeks saying copper don't come and ship on board. So somebody must say where the copper is. Now, somebody heard me and they said, oh, I know how your coppers, where your coppers are, anybody's missing coppers there are. So the St. Thomas thing is not far-fetched, because I'm told that somebody approached this particular person. That's how they came to us and said, this person approached us as to how they moved the coppers from St. Kitts to St. Thomas. And I said, so you did nothing. You didn't say anything to the authorities. You didn't alert anybody. You just sat there and let them take our coppers to St. Thomas.
I'm going to do something.
No. It comes with education of our people.
The value.
Because if you're sitting at the port and you see somebody moving out to the copper, you are all rights to ask them where they get it from.
Make assumptions that they bought it. But let me share a couple story with you. I know we pressed for time.
You can make a copper.
Here's what. I got a call yesterday afternoon from a lady who says to me, Socrates, I hear you on radio. I don't really get into radio programs, but I need you to mention this for me. She says there's a person employed by, I'm going to call the name of the company in a minute, but their job is to clear certain areas. And they stole a copper and sold it. I gave the copper to this particular person, and this person went and stole the copper and sold it. This is yesterday's conversation. As a matter of fact, this person, she says, are taking headstones from the windmills and this area and selling them to people in Frigate Bay. I said to her, I am on tomorrow with the director of the National Trust and we'll discuss it. So she was very excited. It's somebody, I'm going to give you her name off radio. You can speak to her in person. And she's very, very upset because this person who was employed by, what's the telephone company's name? That telephone, the Skellig. Now, Skellig is no way responsible for this, so I want to make that clear. But this person, she says, is employed by them to clear certain areas, and I know the person, I know the name of the person, but it's an allegation. But I'm giving you the chance to look into it because she's very upset. I'm going to give you her name. She said this person would have stolen a copper and sold it and is in the process, has been in the practice of taking headstones from these heritage sites and selling them to the people in Frigate Bay. So I'm going to give you that information off here. And then because you should have a policing arm to deal with these complaints when you get them? So that's my couple story.
Well, we have had someone arrested recently for selling. They knocked down an entire 2 buildings of a Hermitage estate in KL. We didn't catch them on the first one. We caught them on the second one.
Okay.
And they knocked. So you went on the site this week, you see the building. You go next week, the building
It's
not
gone.
there. The entire building.
For the value of the
But
stones.
the other one is there. And then the other one gone, knocked down, clean. And it's so somebody saw them heading with the heads, the stones, how we were able to catch them.
Somebody was concerned about
We have already even had the buildings as they stood before they were knocked down, evaluated what they would have valued. And I want to say this on national radio, Socrates. Entities seems to say, and I have said it, and I have seen where entities build their place and they're like, they don't know where the stones come from. But I'm not a legal person. I probably a Bedford Tree lawyer. But when you take something from somebody that they stole, it's called receiving. And if you hire, now you nothing, absolutely nothing.
We have an issue with your feed. Can you hear me clearly?
They don't look nothing. They're very smooth.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
All right. Because there was information with the feed a short while ago.
We have said to people, when you see somebody design your building with stones, make sure they're buying cut stones, because anything outside of that is that they're stealing the property of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis
from the heritage site, yes.
To their benefit. And that cannot be correct. And so we absolutely don't support anybody who, I mean, I could tell you everybody's been into the little Walway lately and they see a copper in there. I went in there in December and I saw a copper in there and I stood in the middle of the arch and I said, well, where did y'all get this copper from? And I said, unless y'all could prove where you got it, then you stole it or you purchased it and it's a stolen thing. I said it in the little Walway. So I'm not afraid to say it on radio because I stood in the little Walway and anybody passed there can see the copper there in their
and they weren't able to produce documents that they purchased it or had it imported or whatever, nothing at all?
Imported from where?
Well, I'm just saying, maybe, we may not be, they could get from Antigua.
And nobody makes copper. And nobody makes copper.
I took a picture of one on last Sunday up on Winfield Road, where they have the ATVs. I was there on Sunday and I took a picture of a beautiful one. It's there, so let's hope it's there by tomorrow or the day after.
We really have to stop. I mean, I have had persons approach the National Trust and where they want to pay. And the Charles Fort in Sandy Point is one of the sites that's been vested into the trust. And they are a portion of the southern wall that fell into the sea. And I've had persons approach the trust there, they were willing to pay to dive them up.
Yeah, there's a cannon that's down there too that we wanted to retrieve.
And we said no.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break, Willis, and then we'll come right back because I wanted to wrap up. I'm told you're just here for like 1 hour, the first hour?
Yes.
Okay, let's take a quick break and then we'll get back to you. Right. Okay, the engineer stepped over for a moment so you can continue. Yes, that site. So let me ask this question. There's the question of a home that was built adjacent to the entrance to the Charles Fort. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
And your response to that?
It's on the border of the bounds.
It's on the border, not within the boundary itself. Okay, because there are people who challenge why it was allowed to be built. And
well, we do have the challenge of those that are down on the western side
of
the property. Now, the Charles Fort boundaries does not end at the wall. It extends, the boundaries extend out several feet out. And so we have, and this has been going on for a while, we have written to the persons even before I came here, and we've said you're building on the property of
Heritage site.
of the trust. We appreciate that you keep the area clean. Now this is on the low end, the western end of the site. That is the Sandy Point end, where I think there's like books project. What you call that project down there?
It's books.
On the low side.
Yeah.
Right. So there are, when we look at the layout, and we have brought planning and showed them, and we have the problem all over, Socrates. There are a lot of people in St. Kitts who feel like, and they tell you to your face, this is government land, and we build on it if we want
But the
to.
planning board's supposed to have purview over that.
We have that same challenge in Keon at the Schooners estate, that if we have to fence that property, a particular homeowner would not be able to exit. They leave the front door.
I see.
And these are the challenges. And so you have this major encroachment on these sites. And, when you go and you say, well, you're on the site, this is the property of the trust, you're on it, you're building on it, you can't do that. And they'll tell you this is government land, and they can do whatever they want. And so you start to have conversations as to which minister they're going to call, and these are the real challenges. And I must tell people, the National Trust have had the support of the government over the years, even now so much, a lot more, in recognizing that we are trying to protect our heritage, and they support what we do. And I must say thank you publicly to them. We also supposed to start fixing the museum building. I think over this weekend we're going to be putting up the scaffolding system. So we're going to have some slight, disruption around the building to put up the scaffolding system that will allow work to commence. And so, for a couple of months, there'll be some inconveniences to some people, but bear with us. At the end of the day, we will have a properly restored structure, restored using the correct materials, restored using the experts that know how to do it. And it's something that we could benefit from in the long run. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But, the sites that we have and we are trying to protect, it's for the benefit of the country. And so
I appreciate that.
Support what we're doing. And when you see people destroying our heritage, you need to cry out against it.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that you have the support of the government, but I know some years ago the National Trust had an issue with the Parliament building in Old Road being sold or destroyed to build a fisheries complex. And that was to support Japan with the whaling issue at the UN. They gave us, according to One California, a shed by destroying a heritage site. We have the issue of the Buckley's Yard, that site that should have been a heritage site that was sold. We have the sugar factory. When you go to Salt Plage and you have a nice time, the galvanized and material over there came from the sugar factory. So to hear you say that you have the support of the government, I'm happy to hear that, but there's some issues that need clarity. You may not have enough time, but still, the mic is yours.
I just want to point out that, and it's finding the balance, Sakoti, and that is something the National Trust reiterates. We have to find a balance. We have to find a balance in the protection of our heritage, as well as the development of the country. And we have to find a balance. Some things we would want not to be destroyed, but when you really look at it, for it to have any significance, and what can happen at those sites that you see them pull down is that what we can probably only do is go in and create stories in there.
The sugar factory, that should be in a museum. That should have been a museum.
The sugar factory is under serious protection right now with the support of the government. Again,
Glad to hear that.
And I really want to thank the former Minister of Agriculture, who would have been Mr. Hamilton, who began to work with us when he came in. And we have been able to stop the destruction on the sites. We have been able to stop the destruction of the property in terms of people cutting it down and selling the parts.
The scrap metal.
We have had a conversation since then and even recently as to the next step for that site. And so the National Trust is advocating strenuously for the site to be protected and be put as a museum. I mean, we have years of sweat and blood and tears of our people up there, and we can't afford. I mean, I had a Jamaican watch me in my face and tell me, oh, I could cut it down, and whenever you're ready, you could just build whatever you want. And I said, boss, you try to go to Jamaica and cut down yours over there and just please leave there. You know, that was just not making a lot of sense to me. But we do have the support of the government for what we do here. It may not always go the way we want it to go, but majority of the time, we have no issues with getting their support, understanding what we are trying to achieve, and being behind us, you know, full force. And just now, you may have here another announcement of a big win for the trust. I would not talk about it now because it's not cemented, but it's a big win for the trust in terms of protecting a very, very critical area in Bastille.
I think we all are very encouraged by that.
We've been advocating for it. And we just this week kind of have a verbal agreement for the trust to be able to protect that area and to manage it really, that it remain what it should be.
I think I'm guessing, but I'm not going to go any further with that.
So we do a lot here. And we, you know, I never come on here and don't start with my what we call in Parlang, my Sankey piece. Please join the St. Christopher National Trust. Your support of the National Trust through your membership subscription, through your involvement, help us to, you know, be able to achieve some of the things we'll be trying to achieve within our federation. Our long-term goal really is to make the St. Kitts a heritage tourism destination, and that persons can come here knowing that they would not get anywhere else what they will get here in terms of as a visitor, in terms of how we present our country as historically, and in support of all the other modern amenities that we do offer. And so join the St. Christopher National Trust. Annual subscriptions of 100 EC, and you get the benefit of supporting the work that we do. You get the benefit of being a part of it. You get the benefit of having a voice. And so you too, if you're really, really passionate about our history, our heritage, protecting it, conserving it, and promoting it, then you can do so by being a member of the National Trust. And if you want any more information, you could call us. Our numbers are 465-5584 or 662-5548. We have our Facebook page, St. Christopher National Trust and National Museum, and of course our Twitter, you know, all of that. So Socrates, I want to say thank you for having me as part of the program. I really was excited to converse with you and to share as little as I can, or as little.
It was tremendous.
As I was able to,
tremendous.
To our members, and you know, anything that we can do to support the protection, please feel free to call us, and we'll be happy to work. You know,
I believe all the listeners are very encouraged by that, and as I promised, I'm going to bring that sword to you tomorrow. With this Robert Bratcher ceremonial sword, I'm going to bring it to you tomorrow.
Well, Monday.
Tomorrow is Monday.
Saturday.
So police don't come for me, okay? I'm going to bring this one on Monday.
Today's Friday.
And today's Friday, and I'll bring my $100 also.
So if you want to bring it tomorrow, I'll be here from about 9 until about 3.
I shall do that.
Tomorrow.
Right? Thank you for...
And I look forward to conversing with you to get that story about Sandy Point, because I'm all excited about it.
Definitely, definitely, okay? It's been a pleasure. We now pause for the midday newscast, and any given time you want to come back in the program, it's yours, okay?
Awesome.
We now pause for the midday newscast.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and National Bank.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your national bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Till you walk with a local reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. DLE Walwyn, people you can trust.
With the WIN headline news, I am Devon Cornelius. Nevis Premier raises questions over dialysis machines. Former Health Minister responds.
CARICOM urged to maintain neutral stance in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Internationally, Russia's attack on Ukraine poses a challenge for China. The Chinese government has refused to condemn the military action, and while the West imposes sanctions, China is boosting the Russian economy by importing wheat.
The details and more straight ahead. Premier of Nevis, the Honourable Mark Brantley, criticised the Nevis Reformation Party (NRP) for failing to deliver dialysis treatment when they were in office some 10 years ago. Speaking at his February 24th press conference, Brantley claimed that there was no plan in place for dialysis treatment to take place on Nevis.
I recall that 2 dialysis units were delivered on the 1st of April 2014, if memory serves me correctly. remember it was April Fool's 2014, that we got 2 machines delivered that were ordered by the NRP at the time. Machines which, when we looked at them, should have cost roughly $30,000 each. $225,000 US was paid for those 2 machines. We're yet to understand where the rest of the money went, but we understand it was an election season, and we understand that some engaged in election gimmickry because there was no plan for dialysis by the NRP, none.
Brantley was installed as Minister of Health following the January 2013 Nevis Island Assembly election.
No nurse trained, no nephrologist, no vascular surgeon, nobody to treat the water, nothing except 2 grossly overpriced machines. And one may want to wonder rhetorically, where the money gone? Because what should have been $65,000 US, we paid $225,000 US for it. They arrived, perhaps fortuitously, perhaps by some act of fate on April Fool's, because I believe that's exactly what the NRP had intended, was an April Fool's joke. And so what were we supposed to do with them? Plug them in and kill people?
The health minister reported that the Nevis Island Administration (NIA) has been subsidizing the cost of travel between St. Kitts and Nevis for Nevisians currently receiving dialysis treatment at the Joseph N. France General Hospital on St. Kitts. He also noted that a dialysis unit will be operationalized upon completion of the Alexandra Hospital expansion project.
We do have a few patients being dialyzed on St. Kitts, and it is a burden for them because they have to obviously travel back and forth. The NIA has sought to assist insofar as travel is concerned. During the pandemic, for example, when travel was restricted, the NIA rented the boat, private charter, to take them over the 3 times a week that they needed to go over to be dialyzed. I myself have recently visited the dialysis center in St. Kitts and met and spoke to our patients who were there being dialyzed and get a sense from them directly, because what I find is there's a lot of chatter around the issue. It clearly has become a political football, unfortunately, but I like to talk to the people that are actually being impacted, not those who are out there talking, but those who are being impacted. And from my conversations with them, I didn't get a sense that they were not satisfied with the treatment that they were receiving on St. Kitts.
WINNFM contacted Hensley Daniel, who served as Minister of Health in the NIA when the dialysis unit was purchased. He said, quote, he is clueless about public policy and programs. I bought a mobile turnkey dialysis unit equipped with the following: 2 modern dialysis machines, a water treatment plant, 2 patient treatment chairs, a nursing station, an examination room, end quote. The former health minister revealed that the NIA had engaged a nephrologist overseas for the operationalization of the dialysis unit. Quote, Dr. Gardiner, the nephrologist who runs the dialysis center in St. Croix, would be engaged as a consultant, and he would supply the reagents. He had advised that we hire a nurse with at least 5 years' experience to run the unit and in the process train others. The late Herman Liebert, the then legal advisor to the NIA, had already begun drafting the Memorandum of Understanding to engage Dr. Gardiner and prepare the terms of employment for the nurse. End quote.
In regional news, CARICOM urged to maintain neutral stance in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Barbados Today has the details.
Prime Minister Mia Mottley and her CARICOM counterparts are being urged to leave no stone unturned in their calls for swift de-escalation of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. International Relations Specialist at the University of the West Indies, Dr. Christina Hines, warned that a war in nearly a century could be triggered if the situation is mishandled, with devastating socio-economic consequences for small states. At the same time, she has cautioned regional governments against taking sides.
Our position, I believe, should be in support of de-escalation and a way to diplomatically resolve this conflict in the soonest possible time. So we do not have any say over what happens in this area, but I would expect a show of support from CARICOM for a diplomatic solution and de-escalation. Generally in the region, we are not supportive of these kinds of conflicts that disturb international peace and security and that end up in severe loss of life, dislocation of populations, and general harm to people who are caught in the middle of this kind of aggressive action.
According to Dr. Hines, the local and regional calls should be made without pointing a finger.
I think there is support for the people of Ukraine, let's put it that way, the safety and security of the people of Ukraine. But I don't know that it is especially productive in a situation like this to overtly appear to be taking one side or another when it is that you're seeking a diplomatic solution. The violation of sovereignty is something that is very serious in international affairs, and we see this in this conflict, and it is not acceptable. However, getting all parties to cool the situation down and resolve this is the priority rather than affixing blame one side or another.
We now bring you these international reports.
Less than a month after Chinese President Xi Jinping met Vladimir Putin, Russia's leader launched the most aggressive attack in Europe for decades. But China's leaders have refused to condemn the invasion or use the word invasion at all.
The Ukrainian issue has other very complicated historical background. Today it may not be what any of us want, so we hope that all parties will work together to give peace a chance.
China is criticizing both the United States for exacerbating tensions and NATO for ignoring what it says are Russia's legitimate security concerns. China also says sanctions are ineffective and only harm the general population.
China feels very strongly that the U.S. is trying to encircle it and contain it. Russia feels the same way. The combined pressure on both of them has pushed them together, and there's no question about that. So at this juncture, they feel that they are up against the U.S. and its allies.
Beijing has repeated its claims of non-interference in the affairs of other countries. It won't provide Moscow with military support, but it has been bolstering trade, such as increasing imports of Russian wheat.
You don't go and throw a lifeline to Russia in the middle of a period when they're invading another country. That is simply unacceptable.
But this doesn't mean China condones Russia's attack on Ukraine. It also has good ties with Kiev and relies on strong trade with Europe. Beijing must balance its friendship with Moscow while maintaining relations with the West for the sake of its long-term economic and strategic interests.
Where China clearly supports Moscow in terms of trade and economics and in ideology, but won't actually, kind of violate Western sanctions, to physically help. I think that situation will remain, and that's what Moscow expects.
On the same day Russian forces invaded Ukraine, 9 Chinese fighter jets entered Taiwan's air defense zone. Some analysts have drawn comparisons between Ukraine and the self-ruled island claimed by China, a link Chinese officials deny. Katrina Yu, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
The customary cheering at the opening bell on Wall Street couldn't mask the fear felt by many investors at the start of trading. News of Russia's invasion of Ukraine sent stocks tumbling, following a global trend that also hit Asia and Europe. The Dow and S&P were deep in the red most of the day, and despite a late rally, investors for the long term are fearful. In Russia, stocks fell over 30% and the ruble dropped to a record low.
I think Vladimir Putin has essentially decided to put glory and imperial conquest and also revenge ahead of the economic prospects of his own country and fellow Russians. That's the simple calculation he's made.
Making matters worse, the global economy was already unsettled, still trying to recover from the economic effects from the pandemic. inflation, continued supply chain issues, and slower growth, and now a war. In many ways, it's the perfect storm. Oil prices reached over $100 a barrel for the first time since 2014. Russia is the world's second largest exporter, and analysts predict that, along with supply chain issues, the war could push prices at the pump even higher than they are now. Prices for European natural gas, most of which is supplied by Russia, skyrocketed 50%. Wheat and corn prices jumped to their highest point in a decade. Both Russia and Ukraine are major producers, and consumers might ultimately pay the price in more expensive food products. With the global economy now shaken from war, the question is no longer if there will be a downturn, but now how deep and for how long. Gabriel Ozondo, Al Jazeera, New York.
Three German Air Force fighter jets have flown to Romania to support NATO's mission there. That follows several other troop deployments. American and British warplanes also there to reinforce the NATO alliance in Eastern Europe. Dominic Kane is in Berlin with more on this. So, Dominic, is this essentially sending a message to Putin that we're ready for whatever happens?
Yeah, you need to see this as the sort of gesture that the Germans can do straight away, as it were, to bolster the Romanian Air Force and to send a message that, okay, we're with you, we understand the concerns you have given what's unfolding on your doorstep, as it were, in Ukraine. It's clear that these 3 Eurofighters will not be used in any way in Ukraine. They're there to provide some reassurance, although it is only 3 Eurofighters. It's not 3 squadrons of Eurofighters. Also, it's worth noting that the German Navy is sending one small vessel, a corvette, to the Baltic Sea to be a visible sign of their presence to the Baltic states. Remember, they are on the eastern flank, the Baltic states, of NATO. You might say on the western flank of Russia. And so this is, as I say, we need to perceive these gestures by the German government as reassurance and solidarity for member states who have borders either with Russia or with Belarus. Germany saying, yes, we are there with you, and this is what we can do straight away.
What else have we been hearing on this?
Well, one of the other things to bear in mind, Hazem, is that it's not just this idea of bolstering, of sending small contingents of aircraft, or indeed dispatching a small vessel to the Baltic Sea. There's also the other prong, as it were, to the German approach, and that's the sanctions suggestion, the agenda of sanctions, the idea of the unilateral and the multilateral. The unilateral effect that the German government brought in was a couple of days ago when they said, right, Nord Stream 2 is not going to get certified until further notice. But then there's the multilateral side of things too. We know that the European Union was discussing yesterday in Brussels what form sanctions would take. And we know also that the US government and the UK government were very keen to see Russia denied access or cut off from the SWIFT payment network, the worldwide money transfer system, as it were, between banks. The German government and to a certain extent the Italian government and French governments were resistant to that. Germany saying that actually that could have a crippling effect on many German businesses that have trading links with Russia. And they also have said that they would like to see the Swiss government come in alongside the EU, the US, the UK, Japan, in imposing sanctions. So, as I say, we need to view these as there's a twin track approach, as it were, that the German government is doing right now. On the one hand, reassure NATO member states on the eastern flank, and on the other, talking about the kinds of sanctions they can really impose. But they are facing questions about this SWIFT access, with the serious conservative politicians who are not in government anymore saying, why can't we do it?
Dominic Kane in Berlin. Thanks, Dominic.
You are listening to the WINN FM headline news. let's recap our top stories. Nevis Premier raises questions over dialysis machines. Former Health Minister responds.
CARICOM urged to maintain neutral stance in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Internationally, Russia's attack on Ukraine poses a challenge for China. The Chinese government has refused to condemn the military action, and while the West imposes sanctions, China is boosting the Russian economy by importing wheat.
Thank you for listening.
That was the WINNFM Headline News. The Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and National Bank.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Till you walk with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Dealey Walwyn, people you can trust.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Did you know that National Bank offers very favorable terms and low interest rate to switch your home mortgage? Our in-house legal department will process your mortgage in a jiffy and free of cost. Switch your home mortgage now and get a peace of mind knowing that we are here for you. National Bank, always here.
With over a century of perfection behind the Mackeson name, a smooth blend with perfect balance and richness, it's no wonder Mackeson Triple Stout has a legacy of perfection. Enjoy the world over. Introducing our new look with the same great taste. Mackeson. All hail the king.
Please drink responsibly.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WIN FM.
Good afternoon and welcome back to another episode of Voices. My name is Socrates and we are back after the Made the Newscast. And right about now we're going to open up the lines to the public. We had a guest this morning, the director of the St. Christopher National Trust, speaking about heritage sites. We're still observing Black History Month. And so we took that time out to let her make a presentation. I also registered a complaint that was sent to me by a very concerned person about what's happening with a person who's been taking coppers and such from the sites and selling them. So we have a call on the line as we speak, so I'll get back to that. So caller, you're live on Voices. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, the King.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. What about you?
Standing by, back on, so try and get in.
The King, I have so much things I want to talk to. I appreciate your
Hello, yeah, go ahead, sir.
I appreciate your first hour this morning with the lady from the National Museum.
Yes, the
National Trust. Our artifacts.
Mm-hmm.
So much in the news right now, but permit me to speak about Russia invading Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
I've mentioned on a different radio station that, I may have mentioned it on this station too, that we need to focus on the bigger picture. Now, someone took me up, I think, on a different radio station because I said that this invasion is fake news. Now, I'm going to go back to 2011 when Vladimir Putin criticized the murder of Muammar Gaddafi and the invasion and the destruction of the infrastructure in Libya. I'm going to go back as far as when it was said that there was weapon of mass destruction in Iraq. I'm going to still maintain my stand on this invasion in Ukraine because now, we don't want to have a nuclear war. I don't think any of the superpowers is going to pull the trigger on their warhead of nuclear missiles. So I'm going to maintain my stand on this front, in my opinion. And if it turns out to get worse, well, all I can do is just apologize. Now, in my opinion, again, the King, it's all about the Great Reset and the new scramble for Africa. And this is why I want our people to focus on the bigger picture. Russia, in 1884, when they carved up the continent of Africa, Russia was not a part of it. Now we can say Russia and China have stand behind Mali, in Mali kicking out France. Now, there's a saying said that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But while Russia and China might take a stand on Mali kicking out France from raking $5.5 trillion out of the Francophone countries, we are saying, and I am saying, that if Russia is going to stand with our African brothers and sisters there, to what extent? Because we don't want to have one slave master being kicked out and the next one is still ruling over us. So while Russia and China would stand with Mali, President Assim, we have to be vigilant. We have to stay focused and not allow 1884 to repeat itself. Those superpowers that are on the continent, the King,
they are nobody's friend. They are nobody's friend. They have the agendas.
Exactly. It is time for us to rise up as a people. And this is what I am asking our people to support the war that is against us by uniting. We have to unite. Our unity will cripple the misery. Now, Ethiopia have defeated that war that Egypt and America have instigated on the continent. And now we are seeing the war in Sudan and this one in Mali. We have to be aware of our reality and our future, because we cannot no longer going forward remain as slaves and be living in poverty. What sprung the continent by the colonizers, the bee that sprung the continent, sting us here in the diaspora, the king. Make no mistake of it. I told you some time ago, earlier this week, that you and I are in the tourist industry, and you and I know what it's like to be tipped. I was tipped $1,000 at my last job in one night, and it's a glorious feeling. But here is it now. We know what Gaddafi wanted to do with uniting the continent. Our former prime minister made contact with him. I don't know if he, our former prime minister, was recognizing what the UN is all about. Because I said before again that our leaders globally on the continent, here in the diaspora, in the Caribbean, they are greedy and they are gullible. And we need to look beyond what we are signing to pertaining to the United Nations. They have no use for us. So I'm saying in brief, Mr. the King, recognizing what Russia and China is doing in Mali, we don't want to have one slave master being kicked out to take in another. Our unity would build within ourselves, for the future.
Got you.
Thank you for hearing me.
And stay vigilant. Appreciate your concerns and the attempt to educate the people. I expect a call from a certain guy in New York, so I'm going to keep the lines open as much as possible. But I want to say good afternoon to Sherma up there in Brooklyn, and to Sharon there in Tuskegee. I can't, it's upstate New York. Let's take this call from the public. Call your 11 voices.
Hi, the King. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm giving thanks for life. And
Beautiful.
yourself?
I am blessed. I'm blessed.
I know you're expecting a call, so I shall be brief.
Thanks,
I
appreciate
have
that.
permission to speak.
Certainly.
I wish to say that I drove the lady around from the St. Christopher Heritage Trust.
Yes.
And yes, we did visit the mansion, the owner's generally, the down at St. Paul's there, Belmont Estate,
Mm-hmm.
and also the former in Sandy Point there, that former place. Help me with the name. The name is evading me.
Down the street?
Leper home.
Oh, the Leper Asylum. The Lazaretto or Charles Fort. Charles Fort.
It was a fort, Charles Fort.
Correct.
And you know why we knew what Grimson was built to do when Charles Fort probably was owned by the French and
No. It was built by the British. It was taken from them by the French. In retaliation, the British built above them the hill that overlooked and bombarded them into submission. So they were both built by the British.
Right, yes. And so I had the opportunity to drive Miss Tony Frederick Armstrong around the whole staff from the St. Christopher Heritage Church to those sites a few years ago. Also, she mentioned about some sites, 20 sites, but in the conversation earlier, she did mention Fort Londonderry.
Yes.
And then about the hanging of the last pirate that probably was brought back from Center Station.
Last mass execution of it was 12 pirates, as I recall.
Up there at Fort Pine, where the shell bulk is on Pond's estate, Pond's
Correct.
pasture now. Fort Pine was right there. Fort Londonderry, we were told, according to gleaning from, I think it's the historian, Mr. Innes' book. I think Fort Londonderry, certain part of it has just been demolished, where the Brooks used to live on the Bay Road. There.
I know.
And I was told it came all the way down to Fort Street, thus the name Fort Street. So where the bank is now, the Bank of Nevis is, I was told was a part of Fort Londonderry that stretched all the way up to where the Brooks used to live, Jeffrey Brooks, that they relocated over there in Newton Ground. There, and it had that old bunker sort of system where they probably used to store their weapons, their ammunition. Was made of brick and other stone. So it is interesting. And then
Okay.
the theft of our coppers and so. But
All
let
right.
me go on to something else because I'm seeing some
Quickly, because
children
I have this call on the
passing me
line.
now, and they're well attired in their African garb.
Yes,
And so I want to touch on that aspect.
please.
I think there is so much that we can really, I mean, it is a start. You know, I've seen one or two kind of Chinese looking wear, but it is a start. And we need to get back to the origin of what this attire means. It's not just a colorful attire. We remember Joseph was given the coat of many colors from his father.
Correct, sir.
Yes. So we go back, way back to what the name come down to be, the Kense. The woven of the Kense. Not just the weaving of the Kense. Everything
But the meaning
that
behind
we
it.
knew and wanted to preserve,
Mhm.
we interwove into the Kense. It stayed in our culture. So whether it was from the Ewe or the Akan or the Yoruba culture, they interwoven. Observe this kente cloth keenly, not the one that we're wearing now, but the authentic kente cloth. You will see some sort of geometric for the join, petroglyph. Petroglyph is on stone, but interwoven, you will see some colorful, maybe birds, symbology of the culture interwoven in it. That's why you see the Sankofa sign with all of those colors into their culture. And so we carried around the culture among us. This is the type of education that needs to be have like this in the classroom.
Well, Keon had
That
Freedom
we go
Week.
in the gaps wearing, the children are better informed as to why are you wearing this. Albeit it's only one day, but the first of the day should be a holistic education towards our children
Okay.
that will be passed on. Why are you wearing this kente cloth? What are those symbology on interwoven in kente cloth? Even though it's not symbolic, we're going to bring up, there's enough online where we bring up the authentic kente cloth woven among the people and give the real meaning of it.
Okay.
This is the type of education we want to be inserted into our curriculum on a day like this.
Okay, so.
Minister of Education, Mr. Powell, I hope someone is listening so that we can pass this message on. This is what we want to see, not just the attire, and you wear it and you put it on, put it down for the rest of the day, and you wait till next February. No. We are demanding more of our education to our
Africa.
children.
Thank you. Let me try to get this call in before we go to a station break, okay? But appreciate your contribution. Next call on the line.
Hello?
Yes. Good day. Welcome to Voices.
It's good day, Mr. Secretary. Good afternoon to all your listeners. This is New York Joe. How are you?
New York, join the house. I am encouraged to hear from you. It's been some time since we had a little chat.
Yes, man. Yes. But let me give your previous caller a little bit of credit. His global knowledge is on point.
Africa, we call
Especially
it.
with the wars and stuff like that and the destruction of countries with no military. you know?
Yes. I mean,
and
the
this go
first
way
call, a
back.
journey. Okay.
Yes, But also the young lady you had on from the Heritage Society.
Trust. Heritage Trust, yeah.
Yes, I enjoy the show,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very important topic that we should continue discussing that kind of stuff. Not only that, too, when she mentioned the Manchester home is on the point, I had to
Yep.
call one of my friends who is one of the ancestors of that home.
Yes.
He's in Florida. He was on the golf course,
Uh-huh.
and he happened to call his mother, so she's listening right now.
Actually, I drove a family about maybe 10, 12 years ago. They came in a cruise ship, and I took them down to the Manchester home. So if there are any relatives who were there.
I think that could be him, That could be him. Light skin,
Yes,
dark skin.
yeah, fair complected.
That's him.
Well, you should remember that I drove them down there to that particular
Yes.
property about
That's
10,
him,
12 years
Brian.
ago.
That's Brian. He was born here, and he so happened. His wife also have Sankis roots,
Mm-hmm.
and Sandy Point roots. His wife happened to be a Mills also.
Okay.
So he's also listening. So hello to you, Brian, and the whole Manchester family.
Okay, the mic is yours.
know.
Go right ahead.
Yes, but listen, what I want to touch on, listen, I listened to, somebody sent me a clip in here from Dwight Astafan show, and he's busy comparing St. Kitts, St. Lucia, and them to Singapore, Rwanda, and this kind of stuff. But let me explain something to St. Kitts people. You understand? The way Singapore was built, okay? And he think that you could just take St. Kitts and just bring it to Singapore like that and bring it all the way up the ladder based on the world ranking. It doesn't work like that. You have to have some kind of backing. All the German and Greek shipping tycoons, went over to Singapore and actually built Singapore. Singapore is the gateway for all of the shipping from the east to the west. That's the gateway. I had the opportunity of going on the tallest hotel in Singapore and had dinner and look at all those ships lined up out in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, in order for St. Kitts to be like Singapore, Mr. Astafan, in order for St. Kitts to be like Singapore, you got to have something to back St. Kitts. This administration you have right now, you have to give them credit for taking the CBI money and put it in St. Kitts treasury. You understand? To guide us through this pandemic and these difficulties that we have for the past couple of years. And so far, St. Kitts have done very well. The previous administration, the CBI money was not going in the St. Kitts treasury. It was going to separate accounts, or the accounts all over. St. Kitts had a deficit then, a massive deficit we had then in the previous administration. Okay? Today we don't have a deficit, despite the issues and difficulty we have from this pandemic. So let's give Mr.
And the
Timothy
capital
and
projects.
Mark Bradley. Huh?
And the capital projects that they've been able to, to bring to the country.
Yes.
The development.
So what I'm saying is that you have to give them credit. Don't try to compare St. Kitts to these countries where we don't have no backing. What we are happy for is we have the CBI money that we can use and sustain us, which previously, you understand, in the government transition from Labour to Unity, it was a very slow transition because the Unity administration did not move fast in taking over offices. That's why you see there's a loss in so much records and all this kind of stuff, because a lot of it was hidden. You understand? The office, the St. Kitts office in Dubai, they had to break off the locks over there. The computers are gone.
I recall that.
Huh?
I recall that.
Yes, all of it gone. So these are what we got to focus on. So when you're going to talk about this administration, be careful how you talk. You understand? Because the previous administration does not have any record of any money from the CBI going in the treasury. And if anybody can prove that to me, you understand, I got some money for them. You understand? No. Even when they start talking about Rwanda. Okay, let me just educate Mr. Astafan for a little bit. The president of Rwanda happened to be an ex-neighbor of mine. Okay? That man was placed there by the U.S. government. Google the New York Times article on the Rwanda mission breaking in Manhattan. You understand? And you will understand all what's going on in Rwanda. You understand? The United States took over Rwanda. They put their own guy there. Okay?
Impose,
if you're going to talk about, yes, they put their own guy there.
Mm-hmm.
So don't talk as if St. Kitts could just get up and overnight just be like a country that's on top of the
What
world.
were the
It doesn't have
comparisons he made with St. Kitts and Rwanda?
But he was trying to say how these countries are building up and all this kind of stuff, and this is stuff he's saying. I didn't finish listening to the whole show that they sent to me. I listened part of it, but we can also talk about Burkina Faso. You understand? Yeah. Where the leader of Burkina Faso came to UN and asked for help because the U.S. is bullying him. Okay. Soon after that, 2 months later, American forces stepped into Burkina Faso and captured him, locked him up again, and took over the country. Okay? The superpowers run the world. Okay? So don't compare these kind of countries that America put leaders in to take out all the natural resources. Right? We have an oil-rich country in Africa. America is working with the leader, and they say he's corrupted, but he's getting all the oil money. America's giving all the oil money. They ask the U.S. government, why are you working with a corrupt government? They say if they don't go there, if they do not go there for the oil, China, Russia, and everybody else will go for the oil.
Mm-hmm.
Now you understand?
It's a mad scramble. Look at the situation in Venezuela. The Russians were going there to protect, to make sure that the U.S. didn't get the head of them.
But talking about Venezuela, let's talk about Guyana. They found oil in Guyana, and the U.S. government sending military right to Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
There's a military buildup in Guyana right now, so all that oil belongs to America. You understand? So what I'm saying, no, let's come back to St. Kitts. You understand? Timothy, Mark Brantley, I give both of them a lot of credit. They have done this country very well. You understand? And they have run this country very well. Despite the fact you have people out there that have different agenda, they support certain political party. Most of these people who are talking and doing all these placards and stuff, they have a history of being an opposition tete. You understand? It doesn't matter what government is in power, they're going to be opposition tete.
Yes.
And that's what they are doing. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
But all Kittitians, I'm speaking to all Kittitians who are supposed to be intelligent. Okay? Look at your country books under this administration and look at your country books under the previous administration. You understand? Don't go talk about you're looking at, let's say, the comparison of country ranking and all kind of stuff. Yes, they go by, what they do, they go by per capita. You understand? So
I do make comparisons. I do make comparisons within the region.
Yes,
I make comparisons with our neighbors and how well we're doing. But it's not to criticize them. It's to recognize and value what we have.
Yes, because so far we're doing good. Despite this pandemic, we're doing very good.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to be happy and thankful for this government. I don't want to hold the phone line too long, you know. I'm going to let somebody else get a chance to chime in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to touch on him and let this
Well,
man
I'll
know.
go ahead because the engineer stepped away. So when he returns, I'm going to pause for a station break.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? So if I stop now, I may have some dead air. But go right ahead.
Yes, but we just want people to understand. You understand all these critics and stuff. If Kittitians are supposed to be some intelligent people, you understand? Use your head.
The
do your
polarization.
Understand what this government is doing, and so far they're doing very well. They're doing good. You understand? We got to be thankful for somebody like Timothy. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Leading the country very well. Look at the pandemic he led us through. Despite the fact that vaccine, no vaccine, vaccine, no vaccine, mask, no mask, all this kind of stuff, and they politicize everything. You understand? If the man never did anything about the pandemic, you could criticize him. He done something about the pandemic, you criticize him. But despite all of what Senk is going through, trust me, the little CBI money that we get, it's going in the treasury, and it's taking care of Senk.
What would you say to those who would say that you are out there, you're not here to see for yourselves? How would you respond to that?
Well, listen, I beg to differ because let me tell you something. I'm closer to Senk than I am to America, you know. So people got to understand that.
All right.
You understand? I sing Calypso too, you know. People got to understand that. When I sing Calypso, I sing Calypso for St. Kitts. You know, sing nothing but America.
I want you to write one for me.
Huh?
I want you to write a song for me.
listen, I have one. I don't know if you want it, you know. In them time drunk, but time no fool.
Time no
If you
foolish.
want that, you can have that.
Okay. Okay.
You understand?
We're going to pause now forward for our sponsors, but I want to thank you for the contribution. It's been some time
thank you, all right.
since we've
Have a good day.
chatted, so don't be a stranger, okay?
Right.
We
Okay.
pause now forward
All
for our
right.
sponsors.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Get your property properly covered today. Constructing your dream house or considering renovating your property? We will make sure your property is properly covered at Guardian General Insurance. Yes, at Guardian General Insurance, we will ensure that your property is properly covered with our private dwelling and contractors all risk promotion. Visit or call us today and get affordable rates, premium financing arrangements from now until March 31st, 2022. We will properly cover fire, lightning, explosion, thunderbolt, bursting or overflowing of water tanks and apparatus pipes, burglary, theft or larceny, impact by road vehicle, riot, strike or malicious damage, hurricane, earthquake or volcanic eruption, flood, collapse due to subsidence of landslip, loss of rent, cost of temporary accommodation, and much more. So get your property properly covered at SL Horsford and Company Limited. Local agents for Guardian General Insurance today. Special terms and conditions apply. Call today at 869-465-9355 for further details. Horsford's Building and Nevis Centers continues to make your lawn and gardening easy. Go to Horsford's Building and Nevis Center now and get 25% off store-wide on the entire lawn and garden equipment. Yes, for the months of February and March, Horsford's Building Center and Nevis Center is making improving your lawn and garden easy with 25% off garden supplies, garden equipment, garden accessories, including weed eaters, lawnmowers, and much more. Get 25% off all lawn and garden items happening now at Horsford's Building Center in St. Kitts and Nevis. Horsford's Building and Nevis Centers, making home improvement easy. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
Welcome back to Voices as we go straight to the phone lines. You missed that? Okay. Another call on the line. Caller 11 Voices.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sister Henry. How about thou?
Is my radio on still?
We can hear you clearly.
Eh? All right.
There's a lady in New York called Rosemary Donald. She'll love when you're calling. I know she's listening.
Well, boy.
So you have a fan base. Pardon?
Some love and some get belly ache.
I understand. We love you. Okay?
Yeah, I was even warned by one of my good close relatives tell me, why you just bother calling? I said, I call and I say, if you only have one side, many people who don't know the facts will believe it is true.
I did ask you about that years ago. I asked her, why were you taking insults from certain people? You said, Socrates,
I don't take
I'm smarter than them. They don't want to hear me.
You know the thing I say, desiderata?
Yes.
Ignore loud and aggressive people. That's how I live my life.
Okay.
You see, when people have nothing to say, when they can't back the facts, they get personal. And some people are afraid of personal attack. And I love that Bible. Me and Johnny love the Bible, you know.
I know he's listening. He called earlier. He did make a contribution.
And I love Johnny, you know. Yes, because he's going to learn the truth. The God he's looking for is the one that the Bible talk about.
Okay.
He will eventually, you see, God reveal himself to people, eh? Good afternoon, Journey. Now, let me correct you. Let me start by correcting some information you gave. And as I usually tell the people, I can give you a copy of the information about the houses that were built in Downing Street. In 1931, the country legislature obtained a loan from Britain, and they designed two housing projects, one in St. Johnson Avenue and one in Downing Street. They built 16 in Downing Street. I think it was 30-something in St. Johnson Avenue.
It's a longer street.
Eh?
It's a much longer street.
Yes, but you know, just by in those days, because my mother was born in Haysmith Village, Millionaire Street, and the area that is now St. Johnson Avenue was really a drainage that the water came from up by Lagreet, came down the road by the cemetery, and down into like trenches, went down into Fortlands, into the area that is now called Trafalgar. So they had to do some relocation because my mother's mother was living in that area, and they moved the houses from India, took them to the bottom of Trafalgar Village, down by the children home area.
Yes.
And then they paved it and put in. Now, when they built the houses in Sandy Point, in Downing Street, the people were asked to pay 10 shillings, I think, a month. Right? They could not be delinquent for more than 3 months. And it took a long time to get the people in Sandy Point to take up the offer. I have the written facts, the date, and the article from the newspaper that I extracted. So it is not, they were trying to get the people from Sandy Point to move into Bastia. The people from Sandy Point didn't want to take the houses. Now, the draw to Bastia is when St. Johnston Village, because remember St. Johnston was also empty until they had the hurricane in 1924 and 1928, when a large proportion of the houses in Irish Town also was destroyed. Then
That
they
was
moved the people
1920.
from
You said
Irish Town.
1928.
Yes, there was one in 1924 too.
Okay.
So some people were moved to the top, you know where the Methodist church is, Caron
Yes.
Street.
Yes, yes, yes.
All there was
Flooded?
in St. Johnson Village.
Really?
Yeah. Is the road, when they cut the road through it, they call the lower part Russell. But the Russell Village actually extended across, because remember the road wasn't there, you know. The road wasn't there. So anyway, now the Sandy Pointers, like the Pole, the Bowie, them 49 and so.
But where Bear was?
Right where Atlee's place is where the 49 them are their shop. Because that's my mother and they born and grew up and raised there.
Where the outlet shops were? Was?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. 49 a shop there. I mean, 49 them people.
I know. Emil family.
One of them was like, yes. So some Sandy Pointers moved when they got work in the factory. Because remember, a lot of them were skilled too, eh?
Say that again.
A number of them were skilled.
Okay, I just want to repeat that.
By the way, and you're all in the first town. Well, let me start.
I didn't say we were the first town. I never did say that.
Well,
Bastia was
the
the
first town.
French
Anyway, let me
capital.
go back to the story now.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Now, in order to make the journey easy, rather than having to travel from Bastia to Sandy Point, a number of them relocated to the village.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I'm following
So
you.
so the houses were not built to draw them because those who came bought and built their own homes. And so you will see now after the take up in Sandy Point was slow. They had to extend the project, the housing project, to anybody. If you own the land, just like what NHC is doing,
Yes.
once you could prove you own the land,
They would build.
they built on your land. So you'll
Okay.
find some of those same kind of project houses on
private.
Millionaire Street,
Okay.
down in town. One or two, once you could prove
Same
that you had a
designs.
title to the land.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so Sandy Point could have had more houses. But when you look at it again, 10 shillings a month is steep because they only give you 3 months.
Teachers work for like 3 shillings a month.
You understand?
Some teachers started at 3 shillings per month. You had to be like
Yes.
4 before you
So
got
the
£5.
most- What's Johnson, Reginald Johnson? That's where I get St. Johnson from, right?
Okay.
He said the houses were designed for artisans. They were not built for
The working
laborers,
class.
you see.
The working class.
People who had trades,
Mm-hmm.
carpenters and whatever. They are the ones. And you will see it on St. Johnson Avenue. The people who live there, government workers, factory workers. There was nobody who worked in the cane field who owned those houses.
Okay.
I don't know who owned them in Sandy Point, but as I said, the take-up was very slow.
In
I could
Sandy
give you the
Point.
information.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me get to what Joe said. You see, it's people like Joe we need, you know. I keep telling people we're comparing countries that have different philosophy, different governance system.
Mm-hmm.
Even Taiwan is now just becoming democratic, you know. Whoever say is what went. I remember in university I did a paper on the agricultural development of Taiwan, and I was surprised because I had this kind of, Taiwan down there, and and we are associated with Taiwan. But it was, I won't say dictatorial. That is more like the word. The government decided what will be grown and how. When they brought in a new variety of rice, they ordered the farmers to stop producing that type and the police went around, and if they found them growing the old
Destroyed it?
species, they pulled them up. They had to grow what they said.
Okay.
And it's to force. You could call it force. I mean, the country's calling like Singapore. Singapore one day in St. Kitts is riot. Riot.
Singapore one day in St. Kitts is right. Or how
One day in St. Kitts, they tried the Singapore model, they got riot.
Okay.
You know? So people make statements, and because other people don't know or don't
fact check
research,
them.
that's why I do research whatever my man say. Anything Africa say, I check it out. Anything that Johnny say, I check it out. Anything the Rasta say, I check it out.
You remember I sang a song some years ago called, what it was? The Spinner's Wicket. When I say you fact check, what's it, Edinburgh?
Yeah, you need to fact check everything.
You fact check him.
Because I got people blood they could spin.
Oh, he was a spinner.
Exactly why he does bother. I bother because the truth has set you free. Jesus never hush. They call him devil. They call him drunkard, whoremonger. I mean,
You have it in the cards?
he ain't stopped to answer them. I don't stop to answer anybody.
Okay.
The truth is the facts are the facts. And we must stop deceiving people. And people got the cell phone in their hand.
They
And
can
have on
research.
YouTube, all kind of truth. Check out what they say. Check out. And I'm happy. You know, oh, by the way, this thing with African cloth, you know, I was doing some research one time. And they were talking about a lot of these so-called African prints are done in New York. You know that?
So they're knockoffs. Not even knockoff. They fakes.
Fake. But, you know, the colors got us.
But a lot of
And
stuff
they say
sold
it has
in St.
also
Kitts are
led-
made in China. So I could understand that.
Yeah,
but
it
I have an
has led to the
authentic one.
destruction of the textile industry.
I have an
in
authentic
Africa.
one given to me by Falcon. But there's a call on the line. So let's take this call, Sister Henry, and get you back afterwards, okay?
Yes. So, happy Black African Day.
Appreciate
and God
it.
bless all of us.
Appreciate that.
All right, then.
Caller, you're live on Voices. Would have visited caller? Is another one there? Good day, caller, you're live on Voices. Okay, to Sherman, Brooklyn, to Sharon up there in New York. They're back. Or caller, you're live on Voices. Good day, caller, you're live on Voices.
Hello, good day. How are you?
Good day to you, Gregory. I'm okay. Yourself?
Okay. I'm blessed.
Beautiful,
So greetings
beautiful.
in the name of Jesus Christ, the only Savior of sinners, who saves sinners from both hell and from their sins, and the second person of the eternal Trinity. Now, what I'm going to ask is that do you have a specific topic?
We had one earlier, but now it's open. So go right ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, first of all, I would like to say, me and Africa have, I think the gentleman's name is Africa. He got by the name Africa.
Yes.
We had a discussion in the past, and he was talking about the history of the Hebrew word, of the word Hebrew, and I told him about the etymology of the word Hebrew, or the term Hebrew, which was from an Oxford source, and he came with a source, the Africans who wrote the Bible. But with all due respect, that source is not recognized as a credible source in etymology or in the history of terms and words as to the development.
Okay.
So when I ask for source, I'm asking for sources that are credible and that are recognized. Because even that very same author, he has a way of just twisting and turning things, including where the Bible thing is concerned, including contradicting himself. For example, in that Bible that he termed Africans who wrote the Bible, for example, he said the Egyptians ran out the Israelites, but then the same author turned around and said the Israelites were Egyptians. So if you put what he said together, you have him saying the Egyptians ran Egyptians out of Egypt, which seemed to be somewhat an inconsistency on his and the author side. So these are other reasons why that source is not really recommended as a credible source that he uses. That's number one. Number two, concerning this war that is going on in Ukraine. Well, I always said when we don't obey the word of God, things will get worse and worse all over. When we don't obey the word of God, things will get worse and worse. And this Ukraine situation with Russia and that sort of stuff. This is a result. This is a result of we disobeying the word of God. And if we continue with disobedience to the word of God, things will get worse and worse. Now, to get even more specific, I would blame America concerning this Ukraine issue.
Okay, let's hear you.
The reason why I would blame America is this. I would blame both America and NATO. The reason why we would blame both America and NATO is this. They want to take in Ukraine into NATO and expand their reach to the Russian border.
The influence?
Troops.
Yeah? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we're putting troops and military bases in Ukraine.
Close proximity
right
to
on
Russia.
the border of Russia. No, the thing is, if Russia or any country, if Russia or China were to put troops on military bases on the border of America, be it in Canada or Mexico, that would be a big war. America ain't gonna stand for it.
So that's the narrative that you choose to believe?
Huh?
That's the narrative that you're credit for the war? The reason why
Yeah. And I'm saying America is very, very inconsistent. You remember a few years back when Russia had wanted to put nuclear weapons in Cuba.
In 1962 thereabouts?
In the 60s. And America almost went to nuclear war with Russia over that. And Cuba is further away from the American border than Ukraine is.
The narrative that they were trying to stop the spread of communism.
That's what I'm saying. That's what they were saying. And when Russia did try to put nuclear weapons in Cuba, it almost became a nuclear war because America decided, hey, you can't be putting these things in my backyard.
Well, Khrushchev back down. Khrushchev back down.
It ain't really so. That's why American media put it over, but it ain't really so. Because what really happened is that America had put missiles in Turkey. And so Khrushchev, the Russian leader said,
Khrushchev.
Hey, if Russia, he said, hey, if you don't want me to put missiles in Cuba, then take out your missiles out of Turkey. And so Kennedy had to take out his missiles out of Turkey, and then that is why Khrushchev, I think it was,
Khrushchev.
Said, okay, I'm going to discontinue with my idea about putting missiles in Cuba. So it was a quid pro quo situation. And America has been doing this all the time to provoke Russia. Russia in the 20th century has been attacked twice. I think with Germany using Ukraine in the I think during World War I, and I think it was during World War II. And because Ukraine is very strategic in attacking Russia.
Geographically?
And Russia lost tens of millions of people as a result of them using Ukraine to attack Russia in the 20th century twice. So Russia has a very great concern about Ukraine going into NATO and NATO putting military bases and soldiers in Ukraine.
So you're saying that's the reason for the conflict, not as we were told?
And that's the reason.
Okay.
That's the reason. But you see, but like I said, when we don't follow the Bible, because America has no reason up there. NATO has no reason up there. But these are warmongers, and these are people who pushing and forcing Putin to do what he did, because America would have done the same and have done the same thing when it was done to America.
So it's a chess game. It's a game of chess.
A very deadly one.
Okay.
Deadly
Okay.
chess game.
We appreciate your perspective, as always.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks for your contribution. Right, so to Brent, we go back to the phone lines. Call you live on Voices.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm okay. Lovely hearing your voice once again. Welcome to the program.
Yes, lovely hearing yours too. And lovely hearing you, my good friend from New York.
Yep, New York Joe.
New York Joe. Haven't heard him for a long time.
Had a lot to
Don't
say.
know. Yeah, Ashrafan has really written something that really provoked his interest.
Mm-hmm.
Or it may just be what's going on. But I would like to say that we have to be mindful. I've been preaching this because I see it and I feel it. Too much bad-mindedness in one little country.
My slice of
And
paradise.
sometimes too much bad-mindedness in one little country, and sometimes bad-mindedness can break a country right down. By the way, Joe, you forgot to mention the how well the economy did in tourism. 64% of the whole country that was employed in tourism. So remember that the next time you call in. And of course, there are people making a lot of money, and now it's picking up. So, the CBI program was built by, we are the first country in the world
Mm-hmm.
to get the CBI.
To initiate it, introduce it, yes.
Yes, and places like, and no other countries who were once saying that they wouldn't do it, like
The
Antigua,
U.S., Canada.
Dominica.
Yeah.
St. Lucia is doing it now.
Mhm.
And some places in Europe.
Well, yeah.
And have taken it on. So we are leading. And of course, the competition have gotten a little bit stiff over the years. We had to reduce our prices a little bit, but I say St. Kitts is still on top with that. So, but we can't do well in a country if we have bad-mindedness.
You're going to have that. You will have that. But once the people are properly informed, they won't gain traction.
I'm telling you, some bad-mindedness could really break a country. Y'all take a stock of yourselves. Throw away all that bad-mindedness. It hurts you personally and your children. So stop it. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that contribution. Are there any calls at the moment? All right, we're still observing Black History Month, and I want to commend the principal of the Keon High School for having that week that they called Freedom Week. And we go back to the phone lines. Call your live on Voices.
Good afternoon, the tallest king.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm good.
I'm glad to hear that.
My good friend here who just called before me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell her good afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And good afternoon, the walking history book, Mrs. Henry.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. We have to appreciate her.
Yes, man. She should be a national hero.
Yeah.
Don't come tell me no stupidness. You're going to wait until people dead.
Correct.
To give them that. They can't see the flowers and not smell them.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Joe, thank you for your information and your knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe is so right, because you cannot compare a place like Singapore with Little St. Kitts. You see where Singapore get most of their economy, their economy from?
Shipping.
Okay, then they have. Well, it is.
Well, I learned this. I'm just learning all this, so.
Right. It is what you call more profitable for the ship's agent them to pass through there than to go all the way around to reach on the other side of where they want to go. So they depend on that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And in Singapore, which I have read, if a police see you in the public chewing gum, that's a fine.
Chewing gum in the
chewing
public?
Gum. Right, in public.
Wow.
You know, there's a place in St. Thomas called Crazy Cow.
Yep.
Right. If you ever go in there to patronize the business in there,
Mm-hmm.
well, everybody's sitting down around the front table there on a stool.
Yeah.
Just put your hand underneath the counter there, see if you can feel
Stick
any
a
board.
gum.
You can't feel no board.
Gum, yeah. I've been there several times back in the day, but I never really went looking for gum. As you got your milkshakes and your hamburger and your cheeseburger and you got all fat and people say, oh, you look nice.
Yes. Well, I could tell you something. I was walking with a gentleman and we went in there to do some welding, some arc welding. And we had to be down on the floor. And when I look up on the counter,
All the
I could
gum.
see, oh my God, all color gum. Can't see no board.
I know in Europe and North America you can be fined for spitting on the pavement.
Also in Singapore too.
Yeah, but for chewing gum.
Right. Chewing gum because they know when you don't chew that, you could fling it any place and then you stick up on what you call visitors to the island, tourists or whatsoever it is, and then they're going to give a bad image to the country. They're going to say the country is nasty, dirty. Now, come back to a little thing I had to tell the lady who was talking about our historical sites.
You're talking about the director of the National Trust, Lady Willis?
Right. I don't think they have any knowledge of this one. There is a very historical resident place up in the middle of Olive's High Mountains on the western side of the mountain called Lawyer Stevens Cave.
I think they're aware of that. I don't know if it's designated as a heritage site, but lots of folks are aware of it. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Because I've been up there many times, and it is said that some lawyers, some big rich lawyers were living up there when they were doing sugar up at Olive's estate.
He wasn't living there. He wasn't a rich lawyer. He was sent down by the Morn Commission, I believe it was, to monitor how the slaves were being treated after emancipation.
Oh, okay.
And because he was threatened, he stayed there and did his writings. So it wasn't a rich lawyer living up there. He had to stay there to stay up the public site, and that's where he documented the treatment of the ex-slaves on the plantation.
Okay, you remember Mr. Campbell Evelyn? He was the manager for Buckley's.
No.
He was relative to the Todds. Todds had that big house there on North and West Independence Square Street corner, where Mr. Bratcher's daughter had her little flower plant there.
Yes.
That building there belongs to the Todds, and the Todds were Mr. Evelyn's grandparents. So they gave you whatever information they had, and he passed it on. He told me and some other guys on Buckley's estate.
Are you talking about the West Independence Square Street from the police station?
Yeah.
That building there?
Right.
Before it was turned into the night spot. And it bothered me that it was because I'd gone into the basement of that building when it was a flower shop upstairs and seen the chains in the walls.
That's right.
You can see the one as you go down to the basement below Domino's on 4th Street. Okay. But in that particular building, I saw them, and there were a lot more. And then that was turned into a nightclub without people recognizing the value. But that property was sold. It was known to have been the property of the former Premier Robert Bratcher.
Right, yeah.
Then it was sold into a nightclub. So we jamming on one of those sites. That should have been a designated heritage site, but yeah.
Right. The Todds gave that to Mr. Bratcher.
Okay.
Now, talking about the couple, I'm so glad that the lady said that someone in St. Thomas observed the conversation about the bell.
It was the bell.
Yeah.
And this friend called me because are you guys missing a bell in St. Kitts? I asked Wilfred Daniel, the pastor. He said no. A couple days after, he said, yes, the bell gone.
Yes. And there's another bell that is missing. The bell in Buckley's estate, Miss Henry could tell you that.
Okay.
That bell was to let the workers know when it was 7 o'clock in the morning
those
and
codes,
1 o'clock in the day.
Those are codes.
And whensoever there is a cane fire, whosoever reached the bell first would start ringing the bell. And everybody on Ed Buckley's estate would come out and go in tractor and go help to out the fire. That bell is also missing.
And the site was sold.
Three large copper on Buckley's estate. They used to soak, five of them. They used to soak the cane plant in 3 of them in lime water. And then the other 2 big ones, they used to give the horse the water in those high coppers. The cattle could not go there because the neck is too short for them high copper. All those coppers gone. and one is over frigate in somebody's yard. I saw it.
Okay.
I saw it over there some time ago. And then now to the headstone. A lot of people going around and breaking down the head, taking out the headstone from
Well,
the
here's what.
historical site.
I said headstones. Headstones are normally found in the cemetery. So they're not really headstones, right?
Okay, well, we call them that.
Okay, go ahead.
Like the stone layers, they call them headstone.
Mm-hmm.
Just like in carpentry, there's a saw they call it chop saw, but it's not chop saw. It is miter.
Miter saw, yeah, okay.
Right. So a lot of people go around and they take out these stones and they have them in the house and the fence and all this kind of. All these things are wrong.
Or face the buildings with them.
That's right. And a lot of that goes on up Olives and up West Farm Mountain. Anyway,
Well, up
I had
Olive-
enough time.
Thanks, yeah, appreciate
Thank
that.
you for your time. Thank you, New York Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Give us the more information. Hold him, Joe. Hold him, Joe. The pooper want water. Hold him, Joe.
Okay.
Brother Sakoti,
Yes, sir.
I could give you some words. You put them together to make song, okay?
Okay. Next time we're going to take in a caller. Thank you for your contribution. Caller, you're live on Voices. With the caller, you're live on Voices.
Hi, I call back to weigh in on the Ukraine situation.
Okay, we got 7 minutes, so get
Yeah,
to the
so
point.
I'll be quick.
Mhm.
Yeah, sure. Of course, I always talk about, that we have to be your brother's keeper and be good to one another. I really believe that, and especially recently. But so much for that. I think, but there's a lot of geopolitics that could play out right there in the Ukraine area because, and it's something to watch, especially with China, and to see how China will act, because China is always looking for, they act quietly, but they're always looking for ways in which they can emerge. They're still looking for a super
Superpowers trying to see who can be most dominant in the world. We have to understand the game, and then we won't say, well, there's this person or that person, because every one of those guys are jockeying for that top spot. That's all.
Right, but I think that also that Putin has a long-time desire. A student of the KGB, he always felt that he had to get back territory that the USSR lost. But I believe, that good sense will prevail, and I really do not understand. This is the part that I don't understand. Why would Germany and some of the European countries would depend so much on oil with Russia, knowing who they have as a leader over there? And, I'm just surprised because now there'll be so much affected. But anyway, the whole world is affected right now, and it's so sad. With the prices that's going up, I don't know how it will all end, but I'm just hoping that, something.
Here's the answer to all this. Here's the answer to it. Only the grass get trampled when elephants fight.
Well, I'm telling you, it seems so.
So that's what's happening. So, you count the blessings and you don't take on that, but I don't. I observe, I try to keep abreast of what's happening, but only the grass get trampled when elephants fight. I mean, little thing, because little me, Russia and China and America fighting up in Ukraine,
Anyway, it makes you feel happy that you're from St. Kitts and Nevis, still a land of beauty, still a land where good people exist. Just a few bad-minded people. I'm not going to mention that again, but
you find that all over the world.
Let's love one another. Let's love one another. You know what I mean? Because the country is so beautiful, so warm. Sometimes we greet one another so well. Greet visitors so well, but with each other, we don't do it as much.
Happens all over the world.
To people, I know, but in a small little compact place.
You're going to speak to the corner that you are. We understand that too.
That's true too. I love St. Kitts and Nevis, but yeah, it's a beautiful place. Take care. Thank you.
Okay,
Have a
thank
good
you.
weekend.
For all the people who love the land of their birth, whether you migrate or whatever, I understand that sense of patriotism, and we appreciate that. So whether you're from St. Kitts, you're from TNT, you're from the States, your country is your country. We take an next call. Call you live in Voices.
Yes, hello. Secretary to me again.
Yes, sir.
I can quickly say
Please.
this. I was also supposed to say, I also should have said as well that we in the Caribbean should not be sending any personnel to that war that is going on in Ukraine that America has forced.
We're members of the UN and we have obligation to help in those theaters. You said we should not be. We have signed on to that convention as members of the United Nations. Contingents from these member countries do take part in those war theaters.
Well, okay then. Who said you're going to be taken?
NATO's.
Who said you're going to be taken?
NATO.
That's the thing. We should not be taken. But I don't care what convention, whatever. That is not our problem.
Okay.
We should not be taking any people to send up there.
Okay, sir.
And we should be signing on to these conventions.
Okay,
That's
sir.
number one. Number two. Quickly, I would like to say as well. We could compare countries to countries because, for example, if you go on the Human Development Index for the UN, you see all kind of countries compared to all kind of countries. And we have done it as well. We compare ourselves to other countries in the Americas.
Quite so.
When it suits us. Yeah. And lastly, I'd like to say, tell everybody, only the blood of Christ can save us from hell and from heaven. And if we are not saved under the blood of Christ, we will end up in hell when we die. And hell is punishment and torment and misery. Is beyond words and beyond our human imagination. So it is for us to repent and be saved by the blood of Christ from our sins and from hell.
We say
Okay.
amen. We say
Amen.
amen
Thank
and
you.
amen to that. Okay? We
Thank
got
you.
about 2 minutes before
God
we wrap
bless.
things up. I want to say to the fan base, those guys like, well, Jamster just sent anything here. Chris up there in Sheffield, Margaret in Birmingham, and Valerie and the crew. We've got Judith in London. We've got Amber and the crew down there in Anguilla. We've got Brenda, I mentioned Brenda. These are dedicated fan base fans. We have Judith, I mentioned Judith. Who am I missing? Who am I missing? Oh, Jennifer in Atlanta. And I want to thank you guys for your contribution, for your little comments during the program. It's Friday. I want to take this time to wish each and every one of you a very safe and peaceful weekend. Those who celebrating, those who are whatever, be at peace. Count your blessings first. You wake up in the morning, all your mental faculties are intact or not. You count your blessings first. It gives you power over your day. You brush the nonsense off your shoulder as we move forward. Tomorrow is Saturday, God bless. We may wake up to see it in the best of health. Sunday going forward, we can, but we wish you all the best. Do enjoy a great weekend. From the studios of WINNFM 98.9 and from Socrates, peace, love, and a much better tomorrow.
Here are your Horsford's Value Mart IG Value Club Blue Tag specials from February 24th until March 9th. Essential Everyday Cranberry Juice Cocktails, $8.99. Lay's Stack Chips, $5.99. IGA or Essential Everyday Chunk and Shredded Cheeses, $7.99. Bird's Eye Steamed Fresh Vegetables, $5.99. Hot Pockets, $13.99. IGA or Essential Everyday Salad Dressings, $7.99. And now, our very low weekly value deals.
Gracias, Joanne. IGA or Essential Everyday Canned Fruits, $7.99. Multi-meal cereals, $12.99. Euros Pasta, $5.99. Stonewich Ice Cream, $18.99. Quaker Oatmeal Quick and Regular, $13.99. Gain Dish Liquid Soap.